The biggest mistake dog owners make happens at the beginning of a walk. And once you make it, you'll spend the rest of the walk paying for it.
Most people let their dog have complete freedom at the beginning of the walk. Everything seems fine until another dog, a squirrel, or a person shows up. Then they suddenly tighten a leash, start giving commands, and try and get control at the worst possible moment. I do the exact opposite. At the beginning of every walk, I ask for a lot. I keep my dogs close, make them pay attention, change my pace, and keep them on their toes. And I remind them that we're working together. Then, once I have their attention, I give them some freedom. If I set the tone off right in the beginning, the rest of the walk is usually pretty easy. The first few minutes don't predict the walk, they create it. The Marine Corps taught me this lesson long before I became a dog trainer. Graduating boot camp was one of the best days of my life. Our families were there. Everyone was proud of us. They played Proud to Be an American. Everyone was crying. It felt like we'd finally made it. We were real-life superheroes. Then I graduated the School of Infantry, and it was the worst day of my life. There were no tears, no celebrations, just a short ceremony and a handshake and orders to report to our new units. Everyone else got loaded on a bus and headed to the airport. I stayed behind because my first unit was located at Camp Pendleton at the same base. Hours went by and no one came to pick me up. Finally, a corporal showed up. He pointed down the road and he said,
"Your new home is 5 miles that way. Start running, Voot."
That was my big hero's welcome. So there I was, running 5 miles down the street. I was wearing my shiny shoes. I had on a heavy green wool uniform. I had to carry my sea bag. And the whole time I was wondering what I'd gotten myself into. I should have gone to college. When I finally got there, nobody shook my hand. Nobody said, "Welcome, devil dog." Everyone was suspiciously drunk for it being a Thursday afternoon. Instead of a handshake, they told me I had to wrestle, and they wanted to see my fighting skills against every Marine in my new squad. One by one. There were 13 of them. Apparently, this was their version of orientation. It wasn't hazing. At least that's what they kept telling me as they introduced my face to the ground. By the time it was over, I was exhausted. I was covered in dirt, and I was officially part of the squad. But here's the cool part. From that moment on, I was the hardest working Marine ever. If they said jump, I asked how high. If they told me to jump off a cliff, I would have asked how many flips do you want me to do on the way down. They established the standard on day one. They set the tone immediately, and I spent the rest of my time trying to live up to it. Years later, I got promoted, or demoted, depending on how you look at it, and I was transferred to Buckley Air Force Base. I expected another miserable welcome. I was now mentally and physically prepared to run from the airport and fight for my new spot. Instead, they picked me up at the airport in a car. They took me to Chili's and they bought me drinks. They pretty much treated me like we'd been friends for years. It was awesome. And it was also terrible for my discipline. I got comfortable. I got relaxed. I pushed boundaries. I wasn't nearly the Marine I'd been at my first unit. The difference wasn't me. It was how each unit set the tone on day one. Dogs are no different. It all starts at the door. I'll actually prop my front door open so I don't have to worry about the door and deadbolt while managing my dog's attention. I'll step out and walk slowly at the door. If my dog starts to pull, I can easily turn around and step back inside. Once I have their undivided attention, I'll turn back, lock up the door, and then we'll start on our way down the driveway. All the while making them adjust to my slow, steady pace instead of me matching their pace. I really concentrate on the dog's body as a measuring stick during the walk, not the tension on the leash. If you see their elbow or butt, they're too far ahead. If you can't see their nose, they're too far behind. I'll even go back to the game of opposites if my dog's having a hard time adjusting to me. I walk like I'm at the museum at the beginning to really make sure my dog isn't just going through the motions. I really manage their eyes and their nose in the beginning. Think of it like me glancing at pretty girls on the street. A quick glance is okay, but you don't want to get caught staring. I handle the dog the same way. They can glance at distractions, but if they lock on and start to stare, I add a little pressure on the e-collar or leash until I get their attention. Once I have their undivided attention, then I do the looser walk and let them sniff and give them a little bit more freedom. But at a moment's notice, I can always get their attention. All that hard work and trust your dog earned at the beginning of the walk will pay off big time. Your dog doesn't need an Air Force type of walk at the beginning with lax standards. They need a Marine's welcome. Make it clear, focused, and structured right from the very first step. Don't wait for a distraction to try and get your dog's attention. Establish the standard at the doorway. Set the tone immediately, and they'll gladly spend the rest of the walk trying to impress you.